Thank you very much. Muchas gracias a todos por venir. Muchas gracias al Mountain Bike Kingdoms y todos los locales que nos han hecho bienvenidos y todo el desarrollo de las rutas locales. Thank you very much. My name is Marcelo Cardona. Sounds confusing. I am from Australia. I was born in South America, in the Caribbean, but have been living in Australia for 30 years now. So Cardona, yeah, it's a name from the region of Catalonia, but that's my background, family name. So feel free to interact in Spanish if you wish, that's okay. I'm gonna do this in English for you, but I can swap and change as needed. Yeah, so. Do you need a microphone? Do we need a microphone? Are we good? I think we're good. More or less? More or less? Louder? I can go louder. That's okay. So, no, that's okay. That's okay. I'll be fine. So, we don't have many of these kind of events, summits in Australia. So last year I decided to come to the summit in Austria to interact and see what's happening in the industry. Just before that, Ruben and I visit California for the Sea Otter Classic, and also interacting with the clubs and the community and see what is happening around the world and how it's happening around the world. And very quickly, I start to run numbers in my head. I start to tick why the trail building. Tom, your presentation last year was like an enlightenment. Thank you very much. And I start to see then you start to present those numbers of the trail building companies in Europe, and what the size of the and what type of trails are building in Europe, and then start to realize that Australia is doing it a very, very different way. We have a very different engagement, very different the investment. The government is investing all this money building publicly accessible for free bike parks, full from double black, red, green, flow, tech, skills park, 100 kilometers track in small communities for free at their expense. And why and how and why we in Australia, we end up in that situation, which is fantastic. So I start to analyze all that, and I'm going to show you a little bit of that. Tasmania, if you don't know what it is, if you blink, you miss it. It's a small, very small place here in the corner. I have been living, like I said, 30 years in Australia, but 15 years ago, we moved from Sydney to Tasmania. I was building trails, very small community, volunteer base. When I moved the business to Tasmania, then we start to build trails in a commercial way and more meaningful. We bought the first excavator, and by coincidence, that's when all the development in Australia started. 15 years ago, in Tasmania, there were not many trails. In Australia was very few investments, just very, very shy, $300,000, $500,000 investments. But in that era, I was part of my local club, and we started to talk to government to help us develop our little village in the north of Tasmania, which is called Penguin. It's somewhere here, tiny, like 3,000 people. And similar of our story, there were stories all around the island. Then we start to prepare documentation, but we start to take it as a business. We need to offer the easiest way to the government to give us the funding. So we provided all the costing, the plans, we start to use numbers from Scotland. Thank you to the Scottish people, because we didn't have any local numbers of investments versus return. Visitors, capacity of expenditure, the riders' profiles, the travel distances, and all that data. That's what the government wants. The government doesn't want a whinging club to say, build me a cool, pretty track. They want a solution to their problems, whatever their problems are. Decrease of population, decrease of investment, lower real estate, health benefits. They want a solution. They have a big problem, And mountain biking is offering that solution. So we need to package everything in the way that is suited for them. It's a business transaction. I could say mountain biking, but I could also say rollerblading. Doesn't matter. It's a solution for their problem. So we start to take it like that. We knock doors on the government, all the local leaders, and especially just prior to election time. Good to be part of the election campaign, especially when the community is asking for it. If they want to keep their job, they need to answer the community, otherwise nobody votes for them. So if you have a engaged community, you can apply that pressure, but you need to do it in an intelligent way, with data, with numbers. Thanks, Tom. So we did that for a while, and then we started to get a little funding and support, and from the Parks and Wildlife Office Service. So we got Tasmania 2010, population 500,000 in the whole complete island, no more than 100 kilometers of track. 15 years later, now population increased, population was decreasing, population increased in the island. Now we have 670 kilometers of trail, and the investment over that time was about 25 million. You probably heard of Derby here. Since that time, Derby has 3 EWS, every year national tournaments, enduro, downhill, cross-country, gravel. Tasmania became the golden child of mountain biking for Australia. But at the same time, this is an investment over 15 years. This is a return on a yearly basis. This brings money to the economy every year after year after year. So these numbers are very easy to understand to any politician. To say, yes, I'm going to do an increment investment over time, but you return 10 times more. Very, very quick, very fast. So it's easy to see now you can travel the island. So the visitors to the island is about a week. It's not a weekend. If you come there, you come for a week, and you do the full tour and full loop. So it's a very quick transformation from no trails to being the world center. So there are many elements that put us in that good position. Part of that is the publicly accessible land. Australia is a new country. Mountain biking is a new sport for Australia. Australia is coming into the mountain biking game a bit late. In Europe, it's been happening longer. In New Zealand, it's been happening quite a lot longer. In Canada, longer. Australia is a newcomer into mountain biking, so we learn a lot of lessons prior to commencing our trail development. So it's a good thing. But the second is we have a lot of land available compared to the rest of European nations. But don't be worried, much of that land is you don't want to be. Crocodiles, snakes, spiders, and big, vast deserts, which are not good for mountain biking. So don't be too much overwhelmed by those numbers. Let's call it 50%. Taking that is not accessible. But I've been trying to put Spain as a good comparing point. Spain has a good advantage over the rest of Europe. Something happened during an era, I think Franco time, where a lot of the land was retaken by the government. So it's a lot more accessible, publicly government-owned land than many other places in Europe. And that happened in most of the border of European nations. Central Alpine Europe is highly populated and more private land rather than the borders. So that gives a little bit more advantage for trail development. Other elements to keep in mind is GDP. We got very similar in between. So Spain is not poor, Australia is not poor. We are in a very good situation. I wanted to compare country to country rather than many nations. It's quite not apples with apples. So it's good to have a good balance. Another thing to compare is population numbers. So Australia, Again, new country, low population. Spain, 47 million, is a difference, but it's not that much. But also, that difference means that it's more opportunity to get revenue. More people, more accessible, that can come and visit. Australia, being so isolated, we rely only on the Australian market. Spain can be supported by the rest of Europe, with the money from the rest of Europe. And I'm using Spain as just one destination, but it could be Norway, it could be Sweden, it could be Croatia, it could be anywhere. You got that way more connectivity that we do have in Australia. So the potential is 10 times bigger for trail development. So that gives us a bit of a percentage. So Australia invests per capita quite a lot higher than many other places because we got low population, we got high GDP. So it's a big difference in number. But again, taking account that there is more opportunities for investment here. Back to the other element. So, and that is one thing that was kind of I was tracking a bit of your numbers there, and I was trying to do some research of how many trail building companies, I mean, or business, and that was what shocked me last time I was here. I was hearing the presentation about how many trail building companies are in Europe and what types of trail. Most trails in Europe are mostly pump tracks, skill sparks, more community-oriented, close to towns, and more to, not as much as in bringing investment, it was more to keep happy the population, more to socially support the community. The trail projects in Australia are more on the grand scale of big tourism, massive tourism, like the Disneyland of mountain biking to attract. I want to have the best trails we can ever have to bring all the tourists to the population. And not only that, we're going to go there in a minute, about retention of youth. You don't want your young people to go somewhere else. You want to keep them happy. And staying with the old traditional sports doesn't cut it anymore. You need to have adventure sports. So mountain biking, one of them. So next level mountain bike, we design, we construct trails. We have about 14 excavators, about 40 employees, vehicles, and we build trails all around the country. But we are not the only ones. Most of the other trail companies are on the similar size. And when you compare to the European companies, are a bit smaller. They specialize mostly in close to town pump tracks. We specialize in really, really wild, over mountains, over valleys, rivers, crazy terrain, difficult environment, dangerous environment. And sometimes our excavators are so deep in the forest. How many kilometers? Like 15 kilometers, single track, up with a motorcycle, double black diamond to get to the excavator to work for the day. And then that little motorcycle needs to come back with a broken excavator bucket, all the way back to the car to drive another 15 kilometers to town. That's just to access on a daily basis. And we do that all the time, year after year. So trails are remote, and trails are super technical. And trails are new. I know the limitations here is a lot of historical heritage trails that cannot be touched. So you're limited to what you can do or not. Fortunately, in Australia, it's all fresh, cut, new, single track. It could be natural, rocky, or it could be flow, jump. But we can develop with purpose. We can develop to serve the community. We can develop the trails to always finish at town, to always finish by the cafe, to always finish by the shuttle run, to always finish next to the bakery, to always finish next to the pizza place. Or and the trail networks can be developed to serve an opportunistic, maybe it's not a mountain biking family, but they can decide, kids, bike things, push bike, let's rent push bikes, and let's go around the lake and have an ice cream at the end. you can have trails, white trails, simple, entry-level, family, not necessarily mountain biking, but some teasing of mountain biking to get that new rider in. So yeah, the trails can be developed, and probably as you know, the majority of the market is in the beginner and intermediate. That's 60% of your riding community and income will be from those riders. When you get a trail designed from scratch, you keep that in mind. When you do, and I've been in that position myself, when we develop trails with community, with volunteers, we tend to build the trails that we want to ride. Because if I'm going to put my back hours as a volunteer for the club, I'm going to build my double black track, not the white family friendly. So there is an advantage and disadvantage in that, on those parameters. So in the last few months, I've been asking questions to our clients and to see why. Why is that difference? Why the government of Australia decide to put so much money in trail building? Ruben, you were the manager for 3 years. You work in Mogul, and the project was 130 kilometers of track, about $9.5 million in investment for public access. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of trail. So we asked that client, why you guys decided to build that trail? And I also asked all my previous past clients and the current ones. And the number one element was youth retention. They want to keep that young community there, or if they go, they're always coming back really quickly. As soon as they want to buy a house, they want to buy a house next to the trail. They want their kids to experience what they experienced and ride the trails they've been riding before. So developing that community niche, the trail center, is the most important thing. Population, and also increase that population. The more you can do. We moved with my wife, Margot, we moved to Penguin, Tasmania 15 years ago. Population has tripled. And it's one of the most desirable places to live in the coast because we build a lot of tracks. You heard about Derby. Again, like you said, the EWS and all these elements. The town was dying, I remember, 15 years ago. There was nothing. And one of our employees, he was working in a bike shop there when everything started, and he purchased a little cabin, 45,000 euros. He sold it last year for 700,000 euros. So that is. Sorry?
Did he quit his job?
No, he worked with us. No. You need to live in Australia. You spend a lot. He still worked with us. He managed all our Tasmania, Hobart construction. Feel free to ask any question. Just keep on interacting. That's okay. As we go. So now you can see why I was overwhelmed, and like when I was watching your presentations here last year and understanding how things work and how I start to trying to find why things are so different. So asking our clients. So the second thing, the important thing is obviously boost the economy. First, retention of youth, the social aspect. The other one was the economy, bring money to the town. And also create that diversity, some like kind of bit of a shake. So some communities kind of like a bit of down on the dumps. They don't have that creativity to create new venues for businesses and income. So introducing this new element opens the gate to a huge variation of new businesses in town. Again, back to the Derby number, and we talk about it in a minute in a different way. When Derby was, there were no trails there. They started to develop the tracks. A lot of the wise investors from the big city came and offered to purchase the properties to the locals, and they sold, again, like I said, 30,000 euros. They buy the house and they build pizza places. It's about 70 Airbnbs in town. It's about 6 bike shops. It's 7 shuttle companies. It's 4 pizza places, cafes, rent shuttles, tour guides. The town is a complete just mountain bike mecca, but none of the locals live there anymore. They sold really quickly. They got dashed really fast, cash money. 10 years ago, they left to the next town. They didn't make the money, unfortunately. So that saved the town, but didn't save the population. It's good and bad. So in our latest project in Mogo in New South Wales, this $9.5 million project, we brought that to the attention to the Chamber of Commerce. We made some presentations. We explained the situation. And we just told the locals, please keep in mind that this is your opportunity. If you have not been able to create a business, this is your chance. Keep in mind that you're going to need, the town doesn't have any Airbnbs, doesn't have any restaurants or cafes or bars or pubs or pizza places or anything, no rentals. By the time we complete the project, there were already 2 new bike shops, 2 new cafes, and then the council have applications from the locals, which is a really good outcome, from the locals to open 15 new businesses in town. So, we finished in March. And that was, so back and forth. We're still working there. We have our maintenance team there, still working, and we'll be working there for the next few years. So, yes, you can bring development, but you need to educate the population. So, carry on with my interview with my clients. So, community pride, increase the real estate value, like I said. It's a huge increment on real estate because you transform that local economy. But also, it's a lot of pressure, like I said before. The council and the government and the leaders of the community, they're just simply responding to the petitions of the public. Because if they don't get elected. If they don't get elected, they don't have a job. They have a job like all of us. And they need to maintain that position. If they don't do what the community asks for, they don't get elected. A good example of that, the town next to Derby, which is called Georgetown, no mountain biking whatsoever. The elders, the retirees of the community, they raised in arms and they demanded that they build trails, push bike something. They didn't understand. They just wanted the same outcome as the town next door. They just wanted more trails. So the trails in Georgetown got built. Not the best location, but they got built. And so you can extend your Derby ride to go to the next town as well, and people do. They're good trails, but then not, obviously the terrain doesn't suit. But again, there was not a petition by mountain bikers, it was a petition by the local elders. They got nothing to do with, they don't understand mountain biking or what it was. They just wanted the results. This is something we're going to go on in a bit more detail, but I just want to talk to you about how to propose this new change of perspective to the government. You need to sell this to the government as a business. Again, you need to provide them all the solutions to all their problems, and really focus on that deep research. The local riders in Australia, they have a different view. It's question of changing that perspective. If in Australia, the mountain bike rider is seen as the rich person, he will come here with a massive four-wheel drive, with an enormous camper trailer, with 6 expensive mountain bike, with the 3 kids and 8 friends with the same equipment. And he will spend 6 days in town, spending about $300 a night. And everybody in Australia knows that those are the ones you want to have as a tourist. And they're not seen as the vandals. They're not seen the mountain bike destroyers of nature, because the trails have been built with planning. So all these trail networks that we develop, they take years. Because we have the land doesn't mean that it's easy. It's a lot of environmental assessments. Ruben is our master environmental manager and construction management. But some of those trails, geology, heritage, historical, bio, fauna, flora, they take, in an average, 3 to 4 years in developing, planning applications. If there is any steep terrain, geology, reports how to solve. So each segment by segment, solve the problems. Trail design, how much of that network is going to end in town. What is the average expected visitor numbers, and what are the numbers expected from those numbers, from those visitors. So it's a huge undertaking, but the government pays for that. Most of the times we are constructing trails, but half the time we are doing research for future projects. They're not going to happen they're going to happen in 3 years' time. So we invest a lot of time. We have projects now in the pipeline that we know they're not going to be effective construction for many years. And they're going to sit there, they're going to pass approvals, because the government is very, same as here, they'll be worried about, obviously, the community view. Everything needs to be done clear. Everything needs to be clear, crystal transparent. Every application, every endangered species of orchid is being surveyed and protected, or animal, or if you find a heritage historical location, an archaeologist do an assessment. So everything needs to be done. Again, Australia is not easy, but the government knows the value of that process. So it gets done at the end of the day. So there are many elements about how to make your proposal. So once you get started to do your planning, obviously it's a huge list. I don't want to go through all that, but that gives you an idea of elements to keep in mind. The law of diffusion of innovation is something that is normally used for a company creating a new product, a new business. And if you want to sell something that never been in the market before, I'm talking this is the way to approach. Imagine how to approach a government to sell your idea. It's new. They are very happy with the status quo as it is. It's been working. Why shake the boat is working so far? But you need to propose something new, something better. So the law of diffusion of innovation is like any bell curve. So you got the early, the innovators. Just here, just that. It's a very small, probably the trails in the US. Yeah. Totally innovators. They just went and invested in trails in a town, and they don't need convincing. They know what they're doing. They put the money and then they develop it. A town developers like Singapore, they just went, destroyed the whole thing, put the park and the waterfront gardens and all that. France in the era that was that Haussmann, they put these big boulevards, destroyed the whole city. Innovators changed the whole town on a massive scale. You don't have to worry about those ones. They will buy it, no problem. The second tier is the early adopters, that they get the idea, they get it, they understand it. They go through out of their way, they make an effort, they make the investment, and they're happy to take the risk for that investment. This middle section here, the early majority and the late majority, those will do it only until it's proven. You need numbers. You need good proof of concept here. These guys, these communities, these government areas will only do it once they are followers. They're just sheep. They will do it until it's proven. These guys at the bottom, They only do it if they have to. They are the laggers. They will never do it until like it's completely the last option. So you need to find these people here, these areas of the country, these government areas, these locations where this is where the piece of land is mostly owned by the government, where the environmental constraints are lower, where the heritage, less of problems with historic tracks, that you can build fresh new tracks. If it is an area with too many constrictions, then you start to have problems. Then you start to hit the wall too quickly. So you need the hero. In Australia, we got Derby. In Tasmania, pretty much Tasmania as a whole became the symbol of mountain biking. And is the example is being used in all around the country for development. So, and those numbers are really effective, like you saw at the beginning. So let's say if in Spain you have an area that's got good outcome numbers, good numbers that you can present to higher government to sell your project, that's what you need. That's the proof of concept. And in the line of about 18%, that's the tipping point. Once you pass the tipping point, your product will landslide and will sell to everybody else. And that's what happened in Australia. We reached that 18% acceptance, 80% of innovation acceptance, and we just tip over the side, and now it's coming. Everybody wants it. Every town wants a trail. Every town wants that income and new economy developing. So it's a question of finding who is here, what do they need, what problems they have, and what mountain biking can do for them. You don't ask for a favor, you provide a solution. You don't asking, please build me a track. Said, what do you need for your re-election? What do you need to save the town? I'll show you. Mountain biking can do all this for you. So that is basically the Australian system, how we've been doing it. Es mi placer. Es mi placer. Es mi placer. Gracias.
Thanks very much, Marcelo and Ruben, for this great and very